You ever land a helicopter on your own front lawn while your HOA president screams about property values and bylaws? Because I have, and let me tell you, that was the moment everything shifted. It was a Sunday evening, and I was making lasagna for dinner with my dad, his favorite, my mom's old recipe. We had a routine, him and me. Ever since I moved back to town to be closer after Mom passed, we'd have dinner every Sunday. He wasn't as strong as he used to be, though he'd never admit it. Kept saying it was just heartburn whenever he rubbed his chest. But that night, halfway through dinner, his fork clattered to the plate, and I saw the color drain from his face. "Dad, you okay?" I asked, but he couldn't even answer. He just collapsed, right there on the kitchen floor. I knew what this was. I've flown medevac helicopters for years. I've seen that look. I called 911, stayed calm, followed the dispatcher's instructions, gave him aspirin, and stayed by his side. The ambulance was on its way, and I was holding on to hope that they'd make it fast. Then my phone buzzed. Karen's blocking the ambulance at the gate. And just like that, I went from worried son to furious neighbor in 3 seconds flat. I looked out the window, and sure enough, there she was, Karen Williams, clipboard in hand, arguing with paramedics, standing between my dad's last chance and the entrance to our neighborhood. Now, let me back up a sec. I'd moved into Oakwood Estates 3 months before this. Yeah, it was HOA territory, strict, suffocating, and absurd. But it was close to that, and with the housing market the way it was, I didn't have many options. Karen was the queen bee of the HOA, perfect smile, eyes like scanners. She welcomed me to the neighborhood with a 3-inch thick binder of rules and that sugary tone that makes your skin crawl. "We take community standards very seriously," she said. I should have run. My first violation came just 3 weeks in, grass 1/2 inch too tall. She measured it. Then it was the mailbox collar, a wind chime that hadn't been pre-approved, Halloween decorations up 2 days too early, and even a garden hose too visible from the street. Every week, another notice. I wasn't living in a community, I was under surveillance. The only relief came from neighbors like Mike and Jen, who snuck out their golden retriever after 9 p.m. to avoid violating the pet curfew, and Connor Bryant, who was locked in an endless cold war with Karen over hedge height. Sadie, the kindergarten teacher, told me straight, "You either get used to her or you'll go nuts." I thought I could ignore her. That was until I tried to fix my back deck. Just replacing some rotten boards, nothing major. But Karen showed up like a storm cloud, demanded permits, shut down the job, and fined me $250. That was when I realized she wasn't just annoying, she was dangerous in the way bureaucrats with too much time and too little empathy tend to be. And that brings us back to my dad, lying on the floor, and me sprinting down the block to find Karen physically blocking an ambulance. "You need to sign in all visitors, even emergency personnel," she said to the paramedics, like she wasn't out of her damn mind. "He's having a heart attack," I shouted, breathless. "Mr. Mitchell, I understand this is stressful," she said, calm as ice. "But rules exist for a reason." The paramedic was losing patience. "Is there another entrance?" "There isn't," I said. "But I've got another way." So I called in my crew. "Mike, it's Jack. I need the chopper at my house. My dad's down. We've got 10 minutes. The look on Karen's face when she heard the helicopter coming. Priceless. By then, a cop had shown up, and even he looked like he was about to lose it. Karen tried to recite bylaws about emergency vehicle pre-approval and noise ordinances until the officer cut her off and told her to move her Lexus or he'd call her in for obstruction. But Karen wasn't done. As the helicopter lowered onto my lawn, flattening the very grass she once found me over, she stormed through the crowd with a clipboard like it was a sword. "This is a direct violation of at least 15 community codes," she shrieked. Rodriguez, my crew chief, looked at me like, Is this real life? I just shook my head. Let's get him out of here. Karen tried to block the tail rotor. Yeah. She actually ran toward a spinning helicopter rotor with a violation slip in her hand like she was gonna hand it to God himself. The officer had to physically drag her back before she got herself killed. As we lifted off, I looked down and saw her standing there, hair in disarray, clipboard raised like a suburban torch of defiance. Connor Bryant gave me a salute from his porch. I gave him a nod. And then we were gone. Dad made it. Memorial's cardiac team did their job, and the next morning he was already grumbling about the food. You saved my life, son, he said. I told him he'd done the same for me 100 times growing up. Now, you'd think that'd be the end of it. You'd think maybe Karen would back off after that. No. By the time I got home, my voicemail was full. Karen had called an emergency HOA meeting. I walked into the community center on Wednesday to find it packed. Karen sat like a queen at the head of the table, reading off my supposed violations: unauthorized aircraft, damage to the lawn, noise, disruption of the peace. I couldn't even speak before Connor Bryant stood up. I moved to dismiss all charges. Karen rolled her eyes. This isn't a courtroom. Sadie stood up next. I second the motion. And then it happened. Nearly every hand in the room shut up. Even one of the board members, the vice-retired attorney, leaned forward and said, "Actually, Karen, by law section 17, paragraph 9, allows a unanimous vote of attending members to override board decisions." Karen's jaw dropped. That's not possible. I wrote that clause, Davis said, smiling. Then Brenda Mason, who I'd only met once, stood up and said, "If it had been my husband, and you blocked his ambulance, would we be here having this conversation?" That was it. By the end of the meeting, not only were all charges against me dropped, but a motion was passed to remove Karen as HOA president. Sadie took over, promising to not be insane about it, and Karen's house hit the market within a week. 6 months later, Dad was better than ever, helping me rebuild the techno forms needed. The neighborhood had relaxed. Mike and Jen's dog played in the yard. Connor Bryant's hedges were wild and proud. A new neighbor moved in. Turned out he was a medevac pilot too. Then another family moved into Karen's old place. Their mom was a flight surgeon. 3 helicopter crew families on the same street. What are the odds? We never had to land a chopper again, but we knew if we did, no one would be standing at the gate with a clipboard. And Karen. Last I heard, she moved to a high-rise condo downtown. No grass to measure, no wind chimes to regulate. Probably for the best. Sometimes, the only way to fix a broken system is to land a helicopter right in the middle of it. So, what do you think? Did I cross a line or just draw one nobody else dared to? Let me know in the comments. Was I right, or did I go too far? Let's talk.